Alright, so this is where we left off last time. We've sort of got a little bit of a bronzed overtone. We've got our base here, and then we've got our light bulb, but we haven't done the glass yet. So let's go ahead and continue to sort of rust this out a little bit. So one thing that I like to do is start to combine these into folders. So here's one folder, and it just sort of, so for example, these are supposed to be the top layer. So you can kind of just drag these up onto this folder, give it a second to think. And then I'm just going to name this folder like upper fixture. And that way we can compress it and then work between this. So here's these two layers essentially are going to be our the rim of the bulb. Oops, it's a fill layer, sorry. Let's hit this guy here. Rim of bulb. And maybe we'll throw the bulb in there too, but for now, just so we can start kind of clean all this stuff up. So inside of our upper fixture, let's go ahead and look for some rust. Let's see if I just have a regular rust in my materials here. Yeah, this is good. I'm going to drop it in there. Hopefully it drops on the top of my stack. If not, we'll just move it up like this. Our rust looks pretty good. I'm going to turn on just my rust for a second. I might want to increase the UV scale a little bit. Alright, now let's turn these other guys on. Another neat thing about having folders is you can mask out an entire folder. So I had a white mask there, and then I hit 4 again with polygon fill mode selected, and that's going to help me to really keep these separated. So now it's only applying there opposed to here. So that's kind of another neat trick. Now something else that's cool is on our rust we can add a fill layer. And what's cool about this is it allows to add a procedural. So if I select it here, right, now we have a fill underneath it, and where you can see that it says, let's see, oh, sorry, and I had this selected. I was looking for my grayscale channel. That happens when you click back on your mask. And you can go in here, and then you can see that there's procedural textures. So say you do procedural and messy. You can see there's all these different textures. So here's a checker one, clouds. I might want to do, let's see, kind of looking for something. Let's go with a cap. That's very case sensitive. So here's messy. Maybe fibers. Let's see if there's something cool with fibers. That's actually really neat. So I'm going to select that. Actually, what I'm going to do is on our thing here, I'm actually going to remove it here. I think we'd get a little bit more control if we just added it into our fill layer. So what I'm going to do is remove all of this except color. And under base color here, let's just go ahead and find another fibers that you like. So maybe, I don't know, let's see what this guy does. That looks kind of cool. And I'm going to change this fill from normal to pass through. Or I'm sorry, not pass through, multiply. So we can see our rust underneath. So now you can see it's a little bit scratchier. And if you don't like that, just go back to your fill layer. And when you go to select this, under where it says grunge fields, oops, sorry, channel mapping, let's see. We can go back and remove this, and you can go back in and select a different one depending on your look. So for example, if you like scratches better, actually scratches looks really neat, looks more like the light. You could adjust your UV scale on this. You can see it adds more scratches across the surface. So I think that would give you a little bit more control on that. Alright, so let's take a look at creating some glass. So I was thinking about maybe like lumping it into here. I'm actually going to make a new folder, and I'm just going to call this folder, let's drag it outside of here, glass. And then I'm going to add a new fill layer and put this inside the glass and mask out everything else but my light bulb. And then on this fill layer, what I want to do is under texture set settings, I'm going to add opacity. Turn that on here. And what's cool about this is we can adjust the amount of opacity that we want on this fill layer. Let's make sure that we have this hidden. Now, what you notice is if it doesn't show your alpha working right away, go to viewer settings, and then it'll say shader, and we want to do this option here. It's PBR metal with alpha blending. And what that'll allow you to do is you'll be able to control the amount of alpha, right? So now you can see it's a little bit more transparent. And now, just like all the other materials, so something I like to do is add a little bit of roughness and metal, because it makes it look more like, it gives it more of a reflective bulb. Now, it's kind of weird if the whole thing is all grunged up but not our glass, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add a white mask here. And I'm going to actually just sort of grab a different type of brush to paint with. So here's, if I go to brushes, I'm just going to select maybe something like, I mean, you could play with it, metal or substance, whatever, scratches. And I can go in here and just around the rim, I'm going to start to paint in just some sort of, just a little bit of some like scratches and stuff, so that it's kind of obstructing the quality of where the glass, you know, something like that. Then I'm going to go a little bit in the darker side and just go towards the middle and expand that out a little bit. Maybe that's still too, is that too powerful? Yeah, let's go the other direction. Maybe something like this, just across the glass. It's kind of an older, a little bit older of a bulb. So I think for now, I mean, this is kind of it's really on you at this point to sort of, you know, maybe you want to adjust the rust, give it a little bit more rust or a little less, play with the levels, and just repeat these tutorials a lot over and over again. This and then the suitcase tutorial for just these few, just until you kind of really become secondhand knowledge how to play with these generators. And remember, this is not this isn't just enough, right? Like in the end, whenever I finish a model, I always add a blank layer on top, and then with my tablet, I go to think about like what really makes this, like gives this a humanistic touch, right? So I'll go in and I'll grab a little bit color of yellow, and you know, in my house when I first bought it, I remember seeing, I actually, it was a bank-owned home, and so what they had on a lot of the fixtures was they had these weird number variations, right? They had like, they were marking which light bulbs go where in case of theft. So, you know, getting stuff in there, you know, like, or even on, sometimes you'll walk downtown, they'll spray paint something on the side of the bulb, whether it's a worker or whatever, just marking where the fixture is or what needs to be changed. So think about the humanistic approach, right? Or say they went in and they hand painted this bulb, right? So maybe some of that paint got onto the bulb itself, right? So on our glass layer, we can add another layer on top of even our glass layer, another fill layer, and fill that with black, right? And then we make this layer yellow, right? So we're transferring over some of that yellow paint, right? And then I jump back in here and I can start to paint in some of that on the glass, right? So here's some of that. Let's go pretty intense here so you can really see what I'm doing. See that? So I'm painting that in, and it's sort of fixing around this whole area, you know? So all of these things give it even more of a realistic touch. And if you right click on this, just to sort of show you exporting textures, and we want to bring this back in, you'll notice that it gives us an opacity channel. It gives us all of these things. You always want to do a targa whenever you want to test something inside of Maya. And I'm just going to throw it in that same LightFixtures folder that's on the desktop. Let's see. This is our desktop. And then I'll make a new folder called Textures. And I'll just go ahead and we'll go pretty big on this and do 2048, and I'll hit export. And then you can start looking at them set by self. So if I go to material attributes here, go into my color channel, and just start playing with and applying those textures. So under desktop, LightFixture textures, you can see I've got all my different textures in here. Right, so let's select our base color. Let's grab our normal map. Sorry. So under bump mapping here, I want to do a file. I want to make sure this is on tangent space normals. Doesn't look like it's rendering properly. So we might have to adjust our viewport 2.0, but what's more important is how it looks inside of Unity.